Welcome back. Well, I'm sure you're going to hear Audie jingling because he is right at my feet. And he is hoping that I'm going to let him out. In fact, he was screaming for me to let him out earlier, but it's not going to happen. The reason why is Audie has a certain amount of outdoor time that he is allowed, and he is outside of his windows right now, so he can beg all he wants to, but he's not getting out that door. And since today is Frequently Asked Questions Day, and some of those questions are about Audie, this is probably pretty good timing. So, when we come back. Let's start with Audie. Audie was a stray when he came to me. I had been feeding the stray cats out on the patio. I don't think it's very good for the neighborhood to have hungry animals wandering around. I knew there were a lot of strays or feral cats, and better they should be well fed than hungry. A hungry animal is prone to illness. It's a dangerous animal. And it just breaks my heart that they were hungry anyway. But I have rational excuses to hide the fact that I'm simply a soft-hearted feeder of cats. So Audie was one of the cats that was being fed. And I sent him off. Once I trapped him, I sent him off to be neutered. That was quite an adventure because he only had one testicle, and they didn't figure that out right away. And he had been in a terrible fight the night before, so they had to load him up on antibiotics and check him out pretty carefully, and that was good that the vet saw him after that bad fight. He came back, and of course, it was trap, neuter, release, and the trap and neuter part went fine, but the release, no. He seemed to think that after what I took from him, I owed him a home. So he just walked right in the front door and stayed. So he adopted me, not the other way around. I am no longer feeding the strays out on the patio because this is now Audie's home, and he does not like other cats in his personal space. But the horse farm, half a mile up the road, has taken over, and they are also doing the trap, neuter, release. So everything's working out well, and frankly, the horse farm has a staff there looking after the horses, so they're in a better position to do this sort of thing than I am anyway. Life works out well sometimes. I get a lot of questions from people. Well, it's either questions or comments saying you shouldn't let your cat out. It's like, come on, you gotta know I know this. An indoor cat has an average life expectancy of 11 years. An outdoor cat has an average life expectancy of 4 years. Come on, I'm all about the numbers. But Audie was a stray, and he cannot be kept inside. He won't stay. So we negotiate this, and we've done this. I've had Audie for, I think we're going on 3 years now. It was a long, involved process to negotiate his outie times. So he gets one quick outie in the morning. That's usually about 6 o'clock. He knows he has to be back in by 8 no matter what, because that's when I go out in the morning. That's the time I go out. So he knows he's got to be back. Usually he goes out at 6, and he's ordinarily back by 6:30, 6:45. And then in the afternoons, he gets another little outie. And that's usually about sometime between 12 and 1, depending on when he gets up from his nap. And he goes out, and he knows he gets 2 hours. That's it. He's got to be back. And he's usually pretty good about it. But he does not get to go out after 3. And the reason for that is once it gets to be around 3 o'clock, if he goes out, his little biological clock tells him that 2 hours later, which is like 5 or so, is getting into evening. And then he doesn't want to come back in because he likes the idea of spending the night outdoors. And that's dangerous because he will get into fights. He will pick fights with much larger creatures, and he'll come home very battered in the morning. So no, he's got to stay in. But keeping Audie in 24/7 is not going to happen. He is miserable. He cries and wails. I wish I could do it, but the truth is I can't. So we make out as best we can. In a perfect universe, of course he'd stay indoors. Is this a perfect universe? No, I'm afraid not. So what we do instead is we negotiate a good compromise. When he goes out in the mornings in the winter, when it's before dawn, I put flashers on him, and he will just be glowing red, white, and blue out there. And of course he's got his bells, he's got his collars. I do whatever I can do to make sure the entire neighborhood knows this is my cat on the prowl, or at the very least, this is somebody's cat, because of that flashy collar and the bells and the flashes and the whatever. But it is what it is. Audie is an outdoor cat, and I cannot eliminate it, but I can reduce the amount of time he spends outdoors. So that's what I'm doing. So that was question number 1. Question number 2, how do you get in touch with me? Leave a comment on the videos. I have that. That's one of the first lines of my information in the video content. If you want to get in touch with me, leave a comment on the videos. It's the easiest way. People have found my personal email address, and my spam filters will pretty much make sure that's of no value to you. So this is how you get in touch with me. This is how I would prefer you get in touch with me. After all, there's no need to be emailing me at home. I mean, why would you even want to? The easiest way to do it is to leave a comment on the video, because this is a community. And if you have something to say to me, I'd rather you say it to everybody, because as I say, it's a community. Other people might enjoy the comments. If you want to talk about what you're up to, other people are going to enjoy this. So I would prefer that, we use the old kindergarten rule. It's like, if you didn't bring enough for everybody, stick it back in your pocket. So remember, our kindergarten teachers had something going on. How do I enter a giveaway? Well, whenever there's a giveaway going on, just leave a comment on that video. I'm pretty easy. Once I know you're trying to enter the giveaway, that's fine. The last mega giveaway, all you had to do was just say giveaway. How hard is that? If you enter on other videos, it might not work, because I'm going to that particular video and that comment listing to get the entrance. If I've pulled your name, I will usually ask you to send me your information, because I don't want anybody putting any kind of information out there on YouTube where the entire universe can get at it. That's unsafe. So I will let you know to get in touch with me at a giveaway email address so that I can get your contact information, which I need for the giveaway. Am I going to write back to you and say, I picked you for the giveaway? No, the only way you're going to hear is when I contact you through the comments saying, please get in touch with me at this address. I am not going to get in touch with you and give you a tracking number for your giveaway prize. That's just not how it works. I'm going to send it out, and it's pretty straightforward when you stop and think about it. But I have gotten emails not emails, but comments from people saying, how do I know? Are you sending me information on the giveaway? No, I'm just sending you a giveaway prize. That's how it works. I need to make this simple, because keep in mind, usually when I do the giveaways, I'm getting a lot of responses, and I need to make it easy for me too, because we have 33,000 subscribers, which is wonderful on one hand, but on the other hand, it's absolutely impossible to think that I can get into a personal contact situation with 33,000 people, so we're doing the best we can. Another one that started to come up is when I bring things home from places like Bedford or the thrift store or wherever, and people will say, I would like to buy that. The easiest way to do that one is to get in touch with me through my Etsy shop, because the Etsy shop is there for transactions. So if what you want to do is buy something, well, then it's legitimate Etsy business. So feel free to shoot me a note. I saw such and so, I'd like to buy it. That's easy enough. So yes, you are totally welcome to get in touch with me through my Etsy shop if it's a purchase issue. If it's not about something you're going to buy through my Etsy shop, then it's probably not fair to Etsy to use them like that. I do use them like that sometimes, which I probably shouldn't do, but we've got to limit that. So easiest way is shoot me a note through the Etsy shop. I saw such and such, I want to buy it. And then I can let you know either it's already been sold, or I can tell you approximately when I am hoping to list it. And frankly, if I know you want to buy it, maybe that will speed up the listing process. Let's see. Information on marks. That is another really common question I get. I have a piece, it has marks, how do I find out? Well, we've gone through this in other videos. And this ties into another question that I get very often, so maybe I can answer both of these together. The other question I get fairly often is, I saw that you did a video on whatever, how to size a shade to a lamp, how to make a little photo booth setup. Where do I get that? Well, if you go into my channel, as opposed to looking at one video in particular, just click on Sue Me. And you can do that from any one of my videos. Hit Sue Me, and that will take you right to my channel. And then you can go to the video heading. And if you look up my videos, you can do it chronologically. And if you remember that the video was, say, 4 or 5 months ago, you can just go in and go pretty far back, 4 or 5 months, and see if it's in there. If that doesn't work and you happen to remember something in the title, for example, lampshades, you put Sue Me as one word so that you'll get my channel, and Sue Me and then lampshade. And that should bring up all of the videos I've done that involve lampshades. And pretty soon you'll find the one that says how to size the lampshade for your lamp, but you're going to find how to repair a lampshade, how to make a lampshade, whatever. So it narrows the field down to maybe half a dozen videos, and then you can choose the one you want. But the easiest way to find something that, for example, you kind of know the topic of the video, that's the easy way to do it. So we did a video on how to identify your items, and it was all about how to go online, how to use Google Images to identify your item. That's one that I was hoping would be a good resource, But we've never actually done a video on how to look up marks. Now, marks you can find the same way you find anything else. You go right on the internet and you put in everything you can figure out about that mark. It has two M's, it has a little crown. So, MM crown, throw it in there. See what comes up. You would be surprised, because if you're looking up this mark, you can believe that a lot of other people have been looking up this mark too. When it comes to Asian porcelain, there are some good resources, but I think I'm going to have to do a video on how to look up Chinese marks, because when we talk about Chinese marks, or Japanese marks, or Korean marks, etc., we are talking about marks in a language that most of us do not read or write. So we're looking at, in effect, a picture. And we just have to go to a site that will let us visually match up that picture. And that can be an ordeal, because you can be looking up pictures all afternoon saying, well, that kind of looks like this, it kind of looks like that, but I'm not sure I have it right side up or upside down. It can be a real challenge. So we're probably going to do like a whole video on Asian markings, because it's not the same as markings that are using our Latin alphabet. And by the way, Cyrillic markings can be pretty darn difficult too, because again, it's not our Latin alphabet. It's not like we could just sit at a keyboard and say MM crown, or, BB leaf, things like that. So we'll probably end up doing a video on that. But for the most part, if we are looking at European markings, put in whatever information you can glean from the marking. And you can include colors, MM crown red, and see what comes up. You would be surprised how much information you can pull just from your personal impressions of what this mark is. I know you're not an expert. I know that, you might not be able to describe that crown the way an expert will describe it. You might not need to. So, if you want to look up markings, the internet is going to be your best source. And that leads me into another question I get when people say, what books do you use? I do not use books. I haven't used books in years. The internet is so much better, because once a book is published, well, actually, once it's typeset, never mind published, the information is closed off. You've put a period on this. And if you think of more information you want to add to your book later, oh well, it's going off to print. Books are also frozen in time. So if you have a book that lists values, those values are only good right up to the point where that book was typeset. If you have a book that shows markings, it's only going to be as complete as that particular one author's knowledge base. The internet, however, and this is the beauty of the internet, is accessible to everyone, and the information has been published by everyone. So if I go online and I'm looking for information about a Chinese bowl, not only am I getting all of the information from experts on Chinese porcelain, but I'm getting all of the questions from people just like you looking for information on Chinese bowls. And sometimes that information is going to include, and my father brought this back from the Korean War and gave it to my mother, which is terrific provenance information that I would never get from a book. I need to get that from you about your dad and your mom and the Korean War, which is dating this for me. Um, so someone might have said, well, I think this piece of china is from the 1940s, but, if your dad brought it back from Korea from the 1950s, something else. So I think the internet is a fabulous resource because for me, the information I get from people who are asking questions it's just as valuable as the information from scholars and authors and researchers. So never underestimate this. Your question could be as useful to me as someone else's answer. So, and it could be as useful to you too, once you know how to use the internet as a resource. As I say, you just look through that information and somebody's provenance is telling you a lot. So do I use books? No. I use the internet. There are some sites I use, and one day we can go through that. We can talk about my favorite research sites, because I do have some. But books, no. There is one exception. I do have some books I use for Barbies. So we'll have to take a look at that one of these days. I'll show you the books, and that is because it's a very narrow topic. It's been researched very thoroughly. And there is one author who really wrote the book on Barbie. So that is my one exception. But an American-made doll that was created in the second half of the 20th century, very limited window here, one company, very well documented, because that doll came out with little brochures and little catalogs. It's totally different from looking at something, for example, 18th century English china, which is a whole century, involves dozens of companies plus independent artisans. So as you can see, one is very suitable to a book, and a single author can create a huge presence in the field, whereas another, it's a whole century, many, many companies, much, much harder to gather all that information. And as we learn more, that knowledge base changes. So the internet is perfect for that. Now let's see if we've got more questions. All right. We're very much at the end of our questions list, so that's sort of our frequently asked questions. We're going to do the final one, and then if we have time, we're going to go on to something that's a little topical. So, final question, and this is what prompted this whole thing, because one of our viewers who makes Tidbit trays, and she makes beautiful Tidbit trays, had written into the comments section recently because she posted pictures of some of her Tidbit trays, and I've seen them. They're lovely. They really are. And someone had said, I can't believe you're ruining that wonderful piece of china by drilling it up for a Tidbit tray. Well, I get comments like that too. I can't believe you're going to drill into that old lamp or that old vase and turn it into a lamp. And that is a question I get a lot. Is it okay? Yeah, sure. My argument in the case of repurposing is the things that I am repurposing and the things that our viewer who is making Tidbit trays is repurposing are things that are sitting on a thrift store shelf gathering dust, and if we don't pick them up and turn them into something, they're heading toward the bins, and we all know that is certain death. So, are we ruining them? Well, I rather think we are saving them. Do I have trouble justifying this? No, of course not. If it were something, if that little lusterware dish happened to be Napoleon Bonaparte's favorite breakfast saucer, of course you can't do it. At that point, it's an item of cultural significance, of historical significance. And yes, even though it's a grubby little saucer, even though it has 2 chips, well, it has significance beyond the significance of a grubby little saucer. We talked about that before. Pen. Okay, here is this little pen. Where'd this come from? This has a friend's name on it. So a friend gave me one of her personalized pens. Does it have any value? No, it's just a pen. Well, what happens if Donald Trump signed a peace accord with this pen? Not likely, but hey, what if? Then suddenly the pen has a much greater value than its value as a pen. In those cases, of course, you can't repurpose it. I couldn't turn this pen into something. I shouldn't even be using this pen. I should stick this pen in a box and pack it away somewhere where it will never get damaged or dirty or whatever. But the plates and saucers that we are using for our Tidbit trays, most of them are going to be under 50 years old. Some of them are going to be over 50 years old. Some of them are going to be 100 years old. All depends on what we have access to. But in general, we are getting them cheap, which shows you the value that someone has placed on them. Therefore, we are taking them in and saving them. We are not destroying them. We are giving them new life and keeping them from the bins. So, hey, if somebody criticizes you for reclaiming and repurposing, that needs to be your comeback line. I am not destroying, I am saving. And some people are going to look at that and say, no, you're not. Well, ultimately, that's their opinion. If it's your item, you bought and paid for it, you own it, you get to do what you please, including ignore that very narrow opinion. Now, the little timely thing, because we do have a few minutes, I wanted to show you this. Let me see, get that right in there. I don't know if you can see, my hands are very red and irritated, and they are a little swollen, and maybe you can see that. We have talked about this before. This is dyshydrosis. And dyshydrosis is a condition in which you will get rashes often between your fingers. In my case, it's showing up on my left hand now. And one of the main causes of dyshydrosis is too much hand washing. And some professions are liable to this. Medical workers are often inclined to get dyshydrosis. In fact, my allergist told me that he suffered with this all through medical school when, of course, they were working with cadavers and forced to wash their hands over and over and over again. Now, one of the easiest ways to eliminate the symptoms of dyshydrosis is when you wash your hands, follow up with a good hand lotion. And I have been a little sloppy about that, in part because this whole COVID-19 thing is forcing me into a situation where I'm washing my hands outside of my own home. Now, in my own home, I have access to all the hand lotion I want. I can just swim in the stuff because I know I have this issue. And as a consequence, I keep a lot of lotion around. And I've been giving out lotion like it's going right out of style because A lot of people who are not frequent hand washers are now forced into frequent hand washing, and they too are coming up with dishydrosis. So if you are suffering from dishydrosis, lotion, quick fix. If the lotion isn't doing it for you, and of course it's not going to do it for me right now because I let it go, I see my allergist or my dermatologist. Both of them are able to prescribe. Well, any doctor can prescribe for you. There are some creams that will take care of it when it's in a flare-up situation. I have that, but I wanted you to be aware, because we are all like in this super hand washing mode right now. And even those of us who are careful, and I'm ordinarily careful to follow up with lotion, are often getting caught in situations where we can't do that. For me, it's going into stores, offices, places where they're saying, here, use the hand sanitizer. And I might have like a little tube of lotion, but it's not the big, heavy duty intensive lotion that I really need, or it's not going to do the trick if I have to use that hand sanitizer 3 or 4 times while I'm going from one office into another, etc., etc. And we are all being put in that situation. So remember, if you start experiencing that little rashy thing, it's probably a result of overwashing. Lotion will resolve that, and if it gets too out of control like this and it gets nasty rashy, get in touch with your doctor. Let them know dishydrosis from overwashing. They will be able to prescribe some prescription creams that will deal with the problem. And mine is going away now because as soon as I realized it was getting out of hand, I grabbed the clobetasol. That's one of the creams I have. And just stuffed it right into the area in between my fingers, and now the symptoms are going away. But I mentioned this before, and I wanted to mention it again, because as we move further down the line with our COVID-19 stuff, a lot of us are going to be feeling the effects, the cumulative effects of the constant hand washing and drying out our skin. Keep that in mind. Hand washing, follow it up with lotion, especially if you are inclined to get rashy or, the dishydrosis. And a lot of you had commented on this necklace. This is one of Randy's pieces, and just make sure I've got everything so you can see it. This one got a great many comments, a lot of requests for a close-up. So here you go. Here's the close-up. Randy does beautiful work, and of course we still have some of those pieces going out as giveaways. The giveaways are going out in batches. I'm doing them about 12, 15 at a time until we eventually clear out my entire stash of giveaway items. So remember, that was the mega giveaway video, which I believe was June 5th. If you didn't leave a comment, go over there and leave a comment, because I'm pulling names from that video at random for the giveaway prizes. All right, this has gotten a little longer than I had hoped. Sorry about that. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.